Whoever thought that one day Cyril Ramaphosa will sound like Robert Mugabe? Listening to him, you can actually think Robert Mugabe is resurrected from the dead. Just listen to this.
This issue that Donald Trump fears so much. We offer this question of the land. I don't know what Donald Trump has to do with South African land because he's never been here. And he must keep his America. We will keep our South Africa. That is what he must do. South Africa is our land. South Africa belongs to all the people who live here in South Africa. It does not belong to Donald Trump. He can keep his America. And Ede is even worse.
Okay, he goes on. He goes on. Now, just compare that, all right? Just compare that to this.
Let no one who is negative want to spoil what we are doing for ourselves in order to unite Africa. We belong to this continent. We don't mind having and bearing sanctions banning us from Europe. We are not Europeans. We have not asked for any inch of Europe or any square inch of that territory. So, Blair, keep your England and let me keep my Zimbabwe.
Now, that's a classic Robert Mugabe quote. There's even more recent quotes of Cyril Ramaphosa talking about we won't be bullied and things like that. The difference, though, is that when Robert Mugabe said that, he was actually in the US, at the UN, okay? So he was saying it in the face of these guys. And in the case of Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, he has made these statements while he's at home in South Africa, but the message stays the same. Now, the only issue is that having seen a lot of South Africans clapping hands for their president, that because he said we will not be bullied, which is a very good thing, that he's standing his ground. However, South Africans need to be prepared to deal with the potential consequences. Because these guys, they don't joke around. So that's why you find that Cyril Ramaphosa himself and his government, they understand. After saying such statements, after pushing back, he has to send a whole team to go and explain in the US what is happening with this Land Appropriation Act or the Land Appropriation Bill that was signed off in South Africa. So it is this bill that has made a lot of, that has made Elon Musk and Donald Trump to say that people, white South Africans are ill-treated. You know, he signed an executive order. He has said, you know what, we are going to remove South Africa from AGOA and all that. And don't think that these guys are joking. Who would you think would be a more of an ally, Ukraine or South Africa? But if you see how Ukraine is being treated right now, I think South Africans have to take a lesson from that book. Because remember when Robert Mugabe is saying this in the early 2000s, I think it was 2002, at that time, Zimbabweans had already taken the land. So Robert Mugabe had nothing to lose. After saying such statements, he didn't need to send people to try and go and explain themselves. But that's not the same situation that South Africa is in. South Africa still has a lot to lose should they be found on a sanction list, should AGOA be removed, should they close the taps from the US. So it's good to clap hands for it. It's good for people to stand up for themselves. But the people in the country need to be conscious of the potential consequences of those decisions. What could follow from that? Because Donald Trump is not joking. We can see from how he's treated even his neighbors right next door. Whoever thought that he would just wake up one day and say Canada must become one of the states? So South Africa is standing up for itself. At the same time, it still wants the benefits. And it is very important and very critical to understand that before copying from the script of Robert Mugabe. At that point, Robert Mugabe had nothing to lose because the land had already been taken and the battle lines were clear. But in the case of South Africa, it still has a lot to lose. However, the question is, are you prepared to lose that, to go through the pain, to be able to properly and fully liberate your people? The political independence is there. Economic emancipation, that's a question for debate.